From unexpected competition for his electric Tesla vehicles to legal and regulatory troubles with Twitter, the company he just acquired. Here's how Elon Musk lost $200 billion in the span of a year. Let's start off by talking about this huge loss. Currently, Elon, who serves as CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, and Twitter, is worth a whopping $137 billion. I know, that's insane! But would you believe me if I said this is his net worth after he lost $200 billion? Yep, in November 2021, Musk had a staggering net worth of $340 billion. He's literally lost around two-thirds of it now, which puts him back in line as the second wealthiest person on the planet, after the LVMH chairman, Bernard Arnault. So how did things go so wrong for Musk? How did he become the first person on the planet to lose $200 billion? Well, for one, Tesla really took a hit. Its stocks took a nosedive, plummeting by 65% in 2022. Demand for Tesla cars shrank as competitors released their own electric vehicles. Because of missing its growth targets, the company actually had to scale back production in China. Things got so bad that the company announced a rare sale so that it could clear out its inventory. Tesla essentially offered $3,750 worth of discounts to customers taking delivery of their Tesla before the end of the year. Things must have been pretty bad though, because the discount then doubled to $7,500. Needless to say, investors were confused and rattled, and the stocks further dropped 37%. After all, this really cast doubt on the company and on Elon himself. Critics began questioning whether Tesla was even worth the trillion-dollar valuation it had at the start of 2022. I mean, Tesla used to be worth more than the 12 largest automakers combined, even though it just had a fraction of their sales. But the bubble had to burst, right? Of course, it doesn't help that investors are starting to lose confidence in Elon. Ever since the whole thing with Twitter, his reputation as a Rick-type crazy genius has crumbled, and people have started viewing him as just erratic and immature. Ever since he got involved in Twitter, Musk sold $23 billion worth of his Tesla shares. This, along with his constant Twitter drama, has really got investors concerned. They want him to focus on his larger and more valuable company. But according to Elon, he's doing his job as Tesla CEO, because he hasn't missed a single major Tesla meeting since becoming Twitter CEO. But everyone can see through his calm pretense. The Twitter investment might single-handedly be his worst decision yet. He really got himself onto a sinking ship. When Elon bought the company for $44 billion, he did some pretty big talk about how he'd make the company profitable by the second quarter. Well, fast forward to now, and the company is worth half of the price he bought it at. Leaked information from the company revealed that it was valued at $20 billion. I mean, to be fair, when Elon bought the company at around $55 a share, he recognized that he was overpaying for it. Still, this was far from the $250 billion evaluation that Elon once promised. Honestly, the investment just triggered his downfall. After all, Twitter is caught up in a lot of financial troubles. So much so that Musk has labeled it an inverse startup. He had to rebuild the company from scratch when he took it over. He changed almost everything about the platform so he could save it from bankruptcy. But these drastic changes led to Twitter losing some of its biggest advertisers. In fact, according to some sources, half of the top 1,000 advertisers have stopped showing ads on Twitter ever since Musk acquired the platform. Even users have started switching over to other social media platforms, amongst all the drama. This obviously isn't helping the company pay its mountain of debt. After all, it's tangled up in a lot of legal disputes, most of which have to do with unpaid bills. But Elon knew this company was always trouble, so he really should have seen this coming. I mean, just look at what he said when he first acquired the company. In a Morgan Stanley conference in San Francisco, Musk stated that the company would have gone bankrupt in 4 months if he hadn't intervened. To be more precise, he said it would have $6 billion in cost against the $3 billion in revenue. Did he really think he could just come in and fix it all with the wave of a magic wand? It's never that easy. But the steps that Elon took only made matters worse. He slashed more than 3,500 of Twitter's 7,500 employees, cutting down $3 billion in the company's operating expenses. But his strategies have been just a bit too aggressive, since they've opened him up to legal battles he can't afford right now. But he doesn't seem to care. In fact, according to a former senior employee of Twitter, Elon repeatedly said, "Let him sue," when disgruntled vendors wanted to recover payment for their services. That's one way to shatter years of relationship building. But well, Elon got what he asked for. Let's take a look at some of the lawsuits the company is tangled up in. Most of it has got to do with unpaid dues. As expected for a company heading toward bankruptcy, Musk has found himself in trouble with the British monarchy after the Crown Estate began proceedings against him for failing to pay the rent for his London office. And that's not all. The owner of Twitter's San Francisco headquarters is also suing for unpaid rent. And there's a rent dispute from yet another San Francisco office. But it's just not rent that the company is struggling with. Many firms have granted their services to the social media platform, but have failed to recover their payments. This includes Innisfree, M&A Incorporated, an advisory firm, and also Imply Data, a software company that's claiming $4.4 million from the platform. It's really not looking great for the company, and Elon may have just made matters worse. After all, the company is also being sued by the employees that Elon mercilessly fired, as they're claiming that they weren't given sufficient notice of termination under the law. Now, as if all this wasn't enough, the social media platform is also being sued in Germany for failing to remove anti-Semitic tweets. There are bound to be troubles with quality checks when you fire half of your workforce. But unfortunately for Musk, the legal battles are just one of the things driving down the stock price. The company is also in trouble with regulatory bodies from both the US and the EU. The Federal Trade Commission, for one, is constantly probing into the firm. I don't blame them. Before Musk's acquisition, they just fined the company $150 million for the deceptive use of security data for ads. So it makes sense that they want to keep a close eye on the company's privacy practices. But this is bad news for Twitter, because one slip up and they're done for. The regulators could charge the social media platform billions in fines. And the company is definitely not in a good place for that right now. But that's not all. After Elon laid off half the Twitter workforce, EU regulators have asked him to hire more human moderators as fact-checkers. And well, maybe if he'd done that, he wouldn't be getting sued for failing to remove anti-Semitic tweets in the first place. But one thing's for certain, it seems like the company is just going to keep plummeting. And that's a wrap for how Elon Musk lost $200 billion in the span of a year.